Yeah. All right. Finally, we are live. It is actually the second day in the fourth uh, week of our incubation program. Okay. And yeah, today we're talking about another amazing topic. Based on what we've been talking about, it's all around agriculture, precision agriculture, modern agriculture, whatever name you would like to call it, digital agriculture. And today we're going to furthering on geospatial analysis and technology for agriculture. Today. And I'm actually most excited to have Saliu from Dev-Afrique, development consultant with us. Uh, so great to actually have him, and I cannot actually wait to learn. And I believe you cannot. You are also eager to learn from him today. So invite your friends. Remind them that we've actually started 1300 GMT plus one. So we're live. We're live again. So without further ado, we would be having our usual intro to Precision Feed Academy, what we stand for, what we do, what's our motivation, and giving you some basic background about us. So I will be inviting Joseph to actually do this. Joseph, the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to confirm if you can hear me very well. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to be here again. So before we go properly into the program, rather, so I'm going to be giving us an intro about Precision Field Academy. So let's go. So at Precision Field Academy, our vision is to create a world where every young person, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to become a digitally savvy farmer or agricultural professional, driving sustainable and equitable growth in their community through the transformative power of technology. And our mission is to raise the next gen farmers that are tech inclined and digitally savvy. So about Precision Field Academy. So Precision Field Academy basically it's a social enterprise where we train and build the capacity of young professionals in modern and emerging technologies for the future of work and to lead with precision agriculture. So we have our core methodology as education and knowledge sharing, training and skill development, coaching and mentorship. And besides this, we have tech skills in focus, which are drone technology. So we are leveraging the power of drone technology to redefine the narrative of agriculture. And also we have another tech skills, which is geographic information system and remote sensing. That's GIS and remote sensing, which actually relates to collection of data from satellite imagery and also using drones to collect data for remote sensing. We have data science for agriculture. It's more about the front end and back end of data for crops or relating to precision agriculture generally. So we also have robotics and Internet of Things. This is more of robotics and embedded systems, putting embedded systems into function in agriculture, where you have smart irrigation control and all of that around farm operations. We have in place as well as artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we're in the era whereby artificial intelligence is really doing a lot of amazing things. Most especially on Facebook, you have a lot of pictures out there, word arts, and all of these things where you just give a prompt and AI will bring different amazing visuals out for you. So it's not limited or or your crop cultivation and things that you're actually doing to actually help you to mitigate risk, basically. And lastly, we have enterprise development. So our end goal is for every of our participants or all our scholars to be able to create a solution platform or a solution avenue where they actually solve life terrifying problems and challenges. Yes. So creating a startup or a business enterprise through enterprise development training. So what's our motivation? Why do we do what we do? We discovered there is a skill gap that really needs to be closed, and young professional needs to build skills on both technical and enterprise skills for the future of work in agriculture. Also, we discovered that observing the trend is not enough for the youth. Like youths really need to be an enabler and player in the fourth agricultural revolution and not just mere observer. And also, for African agriculture to thrive effortlessly, so technology is the key to unlock African agriculture potential. And why should you join us? Part of the reason you should join us is that we are creating the future we want in agriculture. And we connect you also to the information, the world of information and opportunity, which comes in terms of scholarship, internship opportunity, volunteership on both local and international scale for your career growth. And also, we support skill development through project collaboration, research work, community interaction, workshops, and symposiums. And also, lastly, we have access to coaching and mentorship through industry leaders and professionals. And putting all of this together will actually fast track you on your career growth in aspect of precision agriculture. So at Precision Field Academy, we are building a community of young tech inclined and digitally savvy farmers and professionals. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that. So, guys, without wasting much of our time, I would like to invite our facilitator today, and that's Saheed Saliu. He is a consultant at Dev-Afrique Development Advisors, and he's going to be taking us through, as you know, on geospatial analysis and technology for agriculture. Uh, okay, let me bring him up. Uh, yes. Okay, I guess you're set. Okay, you're welcome on screen, Saeed, and I think you can actually put your presentation forward, or if you'd like me to do that. Okay, this one is
All
yours,
right.
sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon. Please confirm I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Femi, and everybody in the audience. My name is Saheed Saliu, as introduced, a consultant with Dev-Afrique. A bit background is my specialty is in GIS, and then from what we do at Dev-Afrique, we support public health and agriculture using geospatial technology. And the purpose of having this lecture today is to discuss briefly and then as detailed as possible on geospatial analysis and technology for agriculture. And then we'll be looking at this in four different content or phases. One, to understand, firstly, to understand geospatial analysis in agriculture, and then also the application of technologies in agriculture, then look at the benefit of geospatial technology in agriculture, and then also look at future or trends in geospatial technology for agriculture. So background, which is understanding geospatial analysis in agriculture. As most of us in the audience know, that geospatial analysis and technology currently has revolutionized the agricultural sector, providing farmers and researchers valuable insights, precision and efficient with powerful tools to optimize resource management, enhance decision making, and promote sustainable practices. So, for the purpose of this session today, we will look at the critical aspect of geospatial analysis in agriculture, highlighting its application, I mentioned earlier, the benefits, and then the latest technology in improving productivity, and how it has improved productivity and sustainability, and how it is shaping the future of agriculture. Along the line, I'll also share my own experience of how we had used geospatial analysis in the space of agricultural sector. So basically, we'll look at definitions of what is geospatial analysis, right, and what are spatial data, and then we'll also look at the key components of geospatial analysis. So geospatial analysis actually involve examining spatial and geographical data. And when we mean spatial data, which means data that are attributed to a particular space or surface or point on the Earth's surface. So the word spatial relatively means space, but not space, astronomical space, but point on the surface of the Earth, right? And then this is done in order to gain insight into patterns, relationship, and trends. In agriculture, these techniques leverage GIS, remote sensing, and GPS. What I mean, GIS, Geographic Information System, remote sensing, and global positioning systems to collect, analyze, and interpret data related to land, crop, and environmental conditions. So like I mentioned earlier, it looks at pattern, trend, and relationship. So in this case, we can probably simplify it as looking at why, where, and how. Because basically, from using the English of Esri, which is one of the prominent GIS software developers in the continent, in the globe rather, they call it the science of where, because it's all about where, what is happening there. And then looking at trends is following what has been happening, how has it been happening, and what is happening today. And with that, they can use that combination of trends of activity that have happened over the years to make a prediction into what will likely happen in future. So basically, geospatial analysis involves the examination of spatial data to understand pattern trends and relationship in context of agriculture. And spatial data in this case includes information related to location, topography, soil composition, weather patterns, and the likes. As far as the data rather contains geographic coordinates, which means it is assigned or associated to a particular point on the Earth's surface. So looking at the key components of geospatial analysis, which are the three basically, geographic information systems, remote sensing, and global positioning system. So GIS basically that's like the tool for mapping and analyzing spatial data. And then it actually has a very broad component on it. So because if we are to dive into GIS as a component, we'll probably spend the whole of today because it includes the software, the hardware, the humanware, the data itself, and and the relationship between all those five major components within the GIS and how they work or how they relate with each other. And then remote sensing in this case is using satellite or aerial imagery to gather information about the Earth's surface. So there's a bit of that difference between satellite data or satellite imagery and aerial photograph or aerial imagery. Because satellite imagery are those captured with satellite, the likes of such imagery, or let me say the open one are usually the land sat data, the Sentinel data and the likes, and even there are a lot of other providers that captures satellite imagery across the globe at interval, depends on the capacity of the satellite. And then aerial photograph or aerial imagery can actually be done by anybody as far as you have the drone that has the capacity to fly at a particular distance and then get your data as depending on the sensor the drone is carrying as well. And then GPS or global positioning systems, these provide precise location data on field activities. And initially there used to be, and currently, well, they still exist, and they have GPS, and then one of the major producer of those ones are the Garmin. And you see the different type of under GPS, and it tells you your coordinate of the coordinate of the particular location. And we also have some other mobile applications that actually do that as well, because virtually all smartphones these days now has a GPS capacity or installed in them, so they also pick information about where you are at that time, so you can as well use that. So in recent trends, people had also devised the use of mobile collection, mobile data collection systems or forms, whereby you can just install it or download the form to your phone, and then carry out any data collection you need to do on the go. So we'll move briefly into then how do we leverage geospatial analysis for precision agriculture in crop management, and then we'll look at specific geospatial analysis for precision agriculture. There are about five major ones that I've highlighted here that we'll just talk through briefly, although there are more than that, but not those are the key ones. So if briefly talking about precision agriculture, which is often called precision farming or precision ag, this is an advanced farming approach that leverages technology data, special analysis to optimize various aspects of crop management. And the goal of this of precision agriculture in most cases is to enhance agricultural efficiency, maximize yield, minimize resource input, and promote sustainability basically. And then also precision agriculture yeah, it relies on cutting edge technology and data driven insights to make informed targeted decision on the field. So, like I mentioned earlier, the GPS device used to get precision data. So, in this case, now looking at precision agriculture, which is also enabled by advanced geospatial analysis, has emerged as a game changer in modern farming practices. And assuming we have precision agriculture in the country or on the continent way back before now, perhaps a lot of us will probably be in the field of agriculture, because it actually make agriculture better and easier to do compared to probably 10 years ago when we used to do the normal crude way of farming. But these ways, as we move further, we'll talk about how geospatial technology had make these agricultural practices or process more seamless and have improved yield over time. So looking at the specific geospatial analysis for precision agriculture. So the first one here, we have remote sensing for crop monitoring. And before we go into those ones, we have geospatial data collections, right, which are broadly info-free, looking at using satellite imagery, GPS technology, or the drones that as explained earlier on. And then moving into those specifics, right, different geospatial analysis that applies to precision agriculture. I've highlighted five of them basically, and then we'll talk through one of them and then some of those subs underneath. First one being remote sensing for crop monitoring, and then looking at this over time has been used to monitor vegetation health or carry out an assessment for vegetation health, and then also disease identification. In the case of vegetation health assessment, spatial technology has have been used to I've carried there are different analyses that have been carried out analyzing vegetation index. So there's a particular index or indices within the very numerous spatial analysis called NDVI, which is normalized differential vegetation index. So this is used to monitor plant health, right? And then there's the NDRE, and which is used to detect early stress or diseases or nutrient deficiency. Because currently I'm in Cote d'Ivoire in the conference at the Wave, which we are talking about crop diseases and how to come up with modelings to predict how those things are spread. And then some of the conversation we had yesterday is around multispectral imageries, which is also used to monitor health of crops. So there are some diseases that before the way they spread or these vectors that carry them, before you get to see or identify the symptoms physically, which are things that are visible to the eye, it has spread beyond what can easily be controlled. But with the use of hyperspectral imagery, which, yeah, the hyperspectral imagery are also satellite imagery, but then different from multispectral imageries, right? And then this, what they do with the spectral signature of the plant, before the eye, you can it's easier to detect what if there's any deficiency in the plant at the time. And they are usually very high resolution, although very expensive to um, acquire. And sometimes if an organization has a capacity to fly a drone to get this imagery or to carry out this monitoring, is always very good as well. And also looking at the disease identification, which employ high resolution satellite imagery or drone equipped with different sensors to detect signs of crop diseases. And over time as well, spatial geospatial technology has been used in it, or it has been integrated with spectral signatures to identify specific pathogens affecting crop. So how did they come about this, right? Basically, it's more about collecting data on the field, and then, you know, these are things. Probably we'll get to the aspect of AI and ML, but just to touch on it briefly, because we are looking at how pathogens were identified, right? Data were collected on ground, and then the health of the plant at the time was recorded, and then they say, okay, if anything changes, this is what it looks like, and then relating it with the satellite imagery at the time that data was collected, right? It's easier to quickly identify if for subsequent use or other capturing of that particular area. Once you get to see that a similar spectral image or signature, you can easily say, oh, yes, there's something wrong. Looking at previous records, this is what it means, right? And then we look at GIS for precision farming, basically touching on spatial analysis for soil mapping, and then also yield mapping, prediction, or and crop health monitoring. So for spatial analysis for crop mapping includes creating detailed soil map through GIS, considering factors like texture, moisture, and nutrient content. Because we all know that even if you have a parcel of land, maybe an hectare or more than that, you can definitely it is not the same across board. So we usually look at farmland in terms of a mosaic, not as a single entity, but a bit of pieces arranged together so as to know, okay, what is happening within each micro area. So with this, it has been able to facilitate precision application of fertilizer based on localized soil characteristics. So because if you tend to apply the same thing across board over the spread, definitely something will go wrong somewhere, and then the yield might not be as expected as you want. But with the initial analysis, you can easily say, oh, this particular region is more fertilized or more arable than the others. So that will guide in the quantity of fertilizer that would need to be applied across the different farmland. And then look at yield mapping. So vegetation indices has been used to derive, which was derived from satellite imagery, and these indices quantify the amount and health of vegetation, allowing for yield prediction and identification of area requiring interventions. So a typical example of where this was used or applied is here in Nigeria by the NASDA, which is Nigerian Space Research Development Agency. I was there a couple of months ago for a particular training, more on remote sensing, right? And then we are talking about different application of remote sensing. Then we get to this yield mapping. So that was a particular program that was run by the Nigerian government then, which is the Anchor Borrower Funds, which was for those into agriculture, different sectors, and then, but basically those who are into farming, their farmlands were mapped and identified, right, in order to check the viability of that land first before providing those loans to them. Whether to say, okay, yes, if we actually grant this person this loan, the land is viable enough or arable enough and will be able to produce the required amount of yield, which will then be sold, and then over time, within the agreed time, money can be refunded back to the government. But sometimes people can be very funny, right? And then probably they go and say, "Oh, yes, we made the plan, but then we didn't have the yield." Forgot they didn't know. These were not clear to them, right? Because these are information which the government are used to track what is going on. And then a typical example was when a man came and then he was like, sorry, he's defaulting because he did not make enough yield. And they were like, okay, within what period and what period? He mentioned. So what they do was just to visit the archive, pull down the imagery over his farmland, and carry out the NDVI analysis, and it shows that around that period, nothing was wrong with his crop yield. Crop, they're actually very healthy. So how come he did not make the yield? So it's easier to say or to detect if there's any fraudulent situation that's going on. So this can as well be applied for control when used by government, or if an organization is monitoring a grant for this process. So then also look at the historical yield data and weather patterns. So combining this with geospatial analysis, these data sets can predict future yield more accurately, aiding in resource planning and risk management. So like I said, trends, it's always about time, what have happened over time in a particular area, or let's say an area of interest or a project area, right? So with that, with the historical data, it's easier to say, okay, yes, this land is very arable, and over time, this is what plant health has looked like in this region. And with that, you can easily say, yeah, well, for the next 10 years, it's still going to be very viable, and agricultural products will do very well in that area. So with that, compared to, and then you get to see another farmland, you'll be like, okay, this will probably might not give enough yield compared to this other farmland, right? And then you know how to allocate resources and which parcel of land to prioritize against the other, as against just throwing a blanket resource distribution across the different field. And then also GPS has been employed by machineries, right? Or with machineries rather, to track and record crop yield across different parts of the field, generating yield maps to identify areas with high or low productivity for targeted interventions. So we'll move into GPS technology in precision farming. So the first one is GPS for precision farming, and now GPS technology in precision farming. So this broadly falls into two categories: one which is the auto guidance system, and then the variable rate technology. So I will talk about those two briefly. So the auto guidance system, this is by implementing GPS guided tractors mentioned and machineries for precise navigation in the field. And how is this done? Is such that we all know that when you want to plant or start cultivating, right, there are specifications based on the different type of crop you want to do or work with at the time. And then with these precisions, you can easily say, okay, yes, maybe the crop of focus at the time is maybe cocoa, and then you need to space them out at an interval. Measuring will take time with human hands, and the number of effort that will be required to say, okay, we need 3 meters interval between each seedlings. But then with this precision guided facilities, is just to program into the system, okay, you need to plant out most likely. Program, okay, yes, I need these seedlings to be planted at 3 meters interval over the stretch of probably 1 kilometers. Let's assume that is the area that has been marked for that space. So that is all that is needed. Put the command into the system, just someone to guide, and then it does what it needs to do. And then on the other end, which is the variable rate technology, this is used to map soil facility, and also precision application equipment are involved. Then it's also as associated with yield map. So I'm sure you will have heard a lot about yield map. So there are a lot of things intertwined. So basically, all geospatial technology are not solely independent. They all work in relation. So you get to see the circle around each of those processes as we go on. So, but looking at the soil fertility map, soil fertility map rather, it is created through soil sampling and geospatial analysis, and this map reveals partial variation in nutrient within a field. Samples are picked at intervals across, and then you can easily say, like I have mentioned something like this earlier as well. You can easily see, but what it is called is soil fertility map under the variable rate technology to see how fertile the land, each portion of the farmland is across the the expanse of land. So then we'll also go into decision support system in agriculture, which broadly look at weather and climate data integration and then predictive modeling for crops. So weather and climate data in this case is incorporating real-time weather data and historical climate pattern into decision support. Take, for example, an area prone to flooding, right? And then perhaps it's a very viable land which can be used for agricultural produce. We find there have been records of when this flood usually happen, probably in relation with precipitation or rainfall data, which can also be um, gotten from agencies like NIMET in Nigeria. We can use that instance to say, okay, if rain fall season start within this period and this period, and then this is usually the period where flooding happens in this case, in this area, right? Which means you already know that for that time, you probably don't want to involve in any form of plant or crop farming that will be affected by flood in that time. So you probably want to look at other time and maybe things that can survive or withstand the flood at the time. So it's all about what has happened, what is happening, and what is likely going to happen. So the trend will then move into looking at predictive modeling for crop planning, thereby utilizing geospatial data for predictive modeling of growing of crop growth and yield potentials. And this has assisted farmers in making informed decisions on crop selection and planting schedule. So then also we look at IoT sensors for precision agriculture, which focus more on smart irrigation system, crop health monitoring with sensors, and then for the smart irrigation system, this is by integrating soil moistures sensors with geospatial data to optimize irrigation schedule, right? Which thereby reducing water wastage and ensuring that crop receive the right amount of water. So just to break this down a little bit. Yes, there's a farmland, there's a water source somewhere around, right? You just all that is needed is the special relationship between the water source and the farmland that needs to be irrigated. With that, we can then channel or plan how the irrigation system will better benefit the farmland or the focus area at the time. And then also looking at these different sensors that will then be combined with this special data will then optimize how the irrigation system will be designed or scheduled. So different spatial analysis or techniques here, we have the GIS mapping. So this particular slide is just to summarize the basic spatial analysis technique. This is GIS mapping, but that is used to carry out spatial analysis, and remote sensing, which is the technique that are applied to crop health assessment. And remote sensing basically means remotely sensing data, which means you are not there in person, probably you are just in your office, but using remote sensing data like satellite imagery or area photograph or area imagery to carry out an analysis or just to identify what is actually happening in a field, on the field rather, right? And then you can use this to um, pro- carry out different schedule or monitor what is going on with the health assessment of the plant at the time. Then soil sampling, like mentioned earlier on, is just to know how viable or fertile each portion or samples across the farmland is, and then that will be able to guide you in how you distribute your resources or how you prioritize crop selection, which then goes across the entire area. So yeah, we've talked about the decision support system and then also the IoT sensors, precision agriculture. So the second aspect of this conversation will be the application of geospatial technology in agriculture. And this will look at the different areas, although these are not limited, right? Because as technology advance on daily basis, application of GIS or geospatial technology keep on increasing. So we have on the list, we have precision farming, we have crop monitoring and management, we have soil analysis and management, there's crop resilience, water management, and land use planning. So I'll touch quickly on each of these points briefly, talking about the different area or how the spatial technology applies to these systems. So firstly, looking at the precision agricultural technology, one had mentioned variable rate technology earlier on that, which is used for precise application of input. And then also automated machinery, which is employed for precision agricultural practice. And then also look at sensors integration. That's integrating of sensors for real-time monitoring of crop conditions. So one, the sensor can be used to monitor real-time, and then they can as well with archive data to look at trends and predictions for what is likely going to happen in future or project what the crop yield will likely look like. So then look at crop monitoring and management. So we can as well use geospatial technology to monitor or carry out crop health assessment using analysis like the NDVI, that's normalized differential vegetation index I mentioned earlier, which involve geospatial technology are used for crop health assessment, get your satellite imagery. Satellite imagery are usually multispectral, so they come in different bands. You get to see the red, green, blue, near infrared, and the like. So it depends on which satellites you are collecting the data from will determine the resolution. But for precision agriculture, it's usually encouraged to get very high resolution imagery. So these very high resolution imagery are not open source. They are usually commercial entity that needs to be purchased probably from the likes of Maxar Technology, Iconos, and the likes, right? But then there are still some very open source, not very high, but medium resolution, like the Sentinel data that gives you about 10 meters resolution. So you can still use that to carry out some or yield prediction, even carry out your irrigation management. So we'll then pivot into the different benefits. Okay, yes, there are still three other application of geospatial technology in agriculture we are yet to discuss. So I will touch on those one on as well before I move into the third section. So look at soil analysis and management. You don't wonder how is geospatial technology applicable, or how can we apply geospatial technology into soil analysis? One is by carrying out soil quality assessment. Therefore, in this case, we integrate data on soil types, historical management practice, and satellite imagery, which allow for creating detailed soil quality map. So with that, you can easily be able to identify the different areas based on those indices, look at the trends, history, and then the soil type that has been collected on field to carry out a detailed soil quality maps, even without you don't have to be there in person before you can carry out this analysis. And these help farmers to identify area needing improvement and develop targeted soil management strategy. So with this, it's easier to say, okay, yes, portion A actually looks more fertile than portion B. Then with that, you can say, okay, yes, I can assign crop XYZ into A and assign crop BZBDU into V, and then perhaps look at other things that you would then need to ensure that whatever you plant on that not so viable land can yield a very good result in the long run. So with this initial analysis, it's easier for you to prepare yourself and plan ahead, and you definitely know what are those things to do. Not until cultivation had happened and then you notice that okay, the plant here is not doing as well as this because they were planted assumed that they have the same condition. Well, once you've done the soil quality assessment before, it's easier to know how to easily being proactive or manage future occurrence. And also nutrients, with this also will be able to guide nutrient management planning because by analyzing soil fertility map and crop nutrient requirements, farmers can create data-driven nutrient management plan, optimizing fertilizer applications and reducing environmental pollution. So this has been done to carry out different analysis on soil composition and fertility using GIS data, and then also implementing precision irrigation based on soil moisture level. Then look at climate resilience. So what are we trying to achieve, or how has geospatial technology help in the space of climate resilience? The first one is analyzing historical climate data. I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering, how come we keep talking about historical data? Yes, it's always about what had happened, right? Because if you don't know why or how, you probably will not be able to make a better plan for what you are expecting. So you need to know or visit trends, what has happened historically within that area, and then looking at the climate data available. And this will definitely help farmers to understand how climate change might affect their crop and region, and then also allow them to adapt their practice accordingly because they already have the knowledge of what had happened. So they are better informed in order to get prepared for what will most likely happen and how to put in mitigation measures so as not to reduce the impact, if possible, avoid it to the barest minimum. This also involve mapping climate resilient crop varieties because with geospatial analysis, this can help you to identify areas suitable for growing specific climate resilient crop varieties, promoting adaptation and ensuring food security in a changing climate. So we all know that there are different varieties of crops depending on the type. A lot of them comes in different types of varieties. So you then be able to analyze and say, okay, yes, this will actually do better than this one in this area. So you then assign that. So it still boils around resource management. So looking at water management, geospatial technology has helped in mapping and analyzing water resources using GIS for efficient irrigation planning, and then also identifying areas prone to water scarcity and implementing sustainable water management. And then look at land use planning. This is more about you getting to know about the nature of the soil or the area of land you want to work with, and then how do you then allocate different crops based on their variety or type to the information the geospatial technology has been able to provide you on the nature of the land that is of focus at the time. So we'll then pivot into benefit of geospatial technology in agriculture. So we'll look at the various benefits. Top on the list is over time, geospatial technology has been able to help with increased productivity and also help to manage resources efficiently, putting in mind cost sustainability and risk mitigations. So how has this happened over time? Increased productivity. Our precision farming techniques lead to optimal resource or utilization, right? Timely intervention based on geospatial analysis to enhance crop yield. You already know what is likely going to happen from your previous analysis, so you know when to intervene, how, and what to expect. As well as precision farming techniques has enabled farmers to optimize input, leading into crop yield. you from your soil fertility mapping, you've been able to identify which area is best for what type or variety of crops. So you know where to allocate what. That will definitely improve yield as against assuming the land have the same quality across board and then you just spread out and start planting. So this has also improved in decision making based on accurate spatial data and contributes to enhance overall productivity. Resource efficiency in this case, we look at reduction in water and fertilizer usage through targeted application, minimization of our environmental impacts by optimizing resource allocation. You don't just go about applying fertilizer everywhere, even when it is not needed, where it is not needed. So with your spatial analysis, you already know where to apply fertilizer and the quantity of fertilizer that is required per parcel or per area of land. So you don't just assume and just spread out with the application of fertilizer. And then also efficient usage of water with the water resource management or from your analysis, you already know the moisture level of each of those areas. So you know the quantity of water to apply. So one particular portion is not well irrigated than the other because you have that data to back it and then to also guide how that water resource management will be distributed or allocated within your farm. And then looking at sustainability, this has geospatial technology has been able to help in preservation of soil health and prevention of overfarming because with constant monitoring and then getting to analyze your spatial data from your imageries, satellite imagery, your area photographs, you know when to stop cultivating on a particular land. You know what to do to improve the health of that land. And you know when the land is stressed and then say, okay, perhaps this land needs a break. So you know when to do that. It's not as if until you are not getting the expected yield, you then say, oh, most likely because yield last year was low because the land is stressed. You already know that, okay, looking at the um, previous analysis you've done over this area, once you cultivate this particular land for 3 years, it will definitely be stressed. Then you need to stop or move or change your method or different application you want to do over time or at the time. So with this has facilitated the adoption of agroecological principles through informed decision making. And then looking at the risk mitigations, right? Early detection of pests and diseases and adverse weather condition. So just to relate that to what we are currently working on, right? Because it's more around cassava disease virus. So right now there's been an outbreak somewhere in Uganda. There's a new variant, and then it's spreading across. So there are suspects of incidents, reported cases in DRC. You know, with that, it is spreading, and there's a vector that is spreading it. So it's easier to say, okay, yes, it started here, it's reported, and then it's easy to mitigate or say, how do we then prevent it spreading further into neighborhood country? Because if it's not monitored or curtailed in time, it then lead into food shortage or food security. So with this analysis or trend, you can see, okay, this is how it is spreading, and these are the particular type or variety of crop that is being affected and how they are being affected. So you can easily, once there is an early detection or perhaps with the use of a multispectral um, imagery, you can then identify even before it's visible to the physical eye that yes, there's something going on. There's a disease outbreak somewhere because there are a lot of those diseases that before they become visible to the farmer in Lagos, it already spreads to somewhere in Ocean State. So that is how some of those diseases are very deadly or how wide they spread. But with this kind of technology, it's easier to easily detect and curtail and then ensure that it's quarantined within Lagos and doesn't spread to Ogun State, not to let alone Oyo or Osun State. So, on that note, we'll just summarize briefly how geospatial technology has been able to, or has been beneficial to agriculture. One is the increased productivity, which we're looking at optimized resource use, enhanced crop quality, and then also improved decision making. Then also environmental sustainability, it has helped with ecosystem preservation, resource conservation, and then climate resilience by building climate resilient through geospatial data. So feature or trends in geospatial technology for agriculture. What are those things that are evolving around geospatial technology or application of geospatial technology for agriculture? Like I mentioned earlier, as technology improve or advance, there are a lot of areas where geospatial technologies are being applied into agriculture. So the four major area that is highlighted for the purpose of this conversation is one, integration of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Two, blockchain in agriculture. I'm sure some people will be surprised at how. And then the third one is advanced sensing technology and Internet of Things. So Internet of Things is something that is already existing, but it's more like a new, how do I put it? More like a new thing for agriculture compared to what it used to be, especially on this part of the earth or earth surface. So briefly looking at the four various areas, which is one, integration of machine learning and artificial intelligence. So machine learning algorithm for predictive analysis, basically, which is still around historical data and field data collection. Yes, you collect samples, you carry out your analysis, you then program or put it into an algorithm and say, okay, yes, if this happened at this time, this is most likely going to happen in the next 2, 3, 6 months down the line, depends on what the situation had been or the incidence occurrence over time. You can use that to develop a predictive model and say, okay, yes, if there's an incidence reported in this place, maybe there is a disease incursion in Casina, looking at existing or historical data for this particular variant of disease, looking at maybe cassava or ginger, you can then make a prediction or carry out a predictive model or develop a predictive model to say if this is not addressed quickly in the next 1 month, there are most likely going to be reported cases in this state. In the next 6 months, it probably will have spread down to the southwestern part of the country. So this is where the integration of machine learning and artificial intelligence comes in. This is where there are trends because they are just evolving, but then it's already in place and in use as well. Because this has been able to help with smart decision support system for farmers, and not just for farmers alone, but also for policy or decision makers. Because with this kind of model, it's easy for governments to know where, when, and how to quickly intervene whenever there's a report of disease incursion in anywhere within the country or anywhere within the country. And then also look how is blockchain technology a trend in agriculture? This will definitely provide transparent and traceable supply chain. It will also enhance trust and efficiency in agricultural transaction. And transaction in this case not just about money, but also agricultural data. Because we all know that there's always this trust when it comes to data sharing. So some data are very, very sensitive because of the nature of the information they are used for or how they are being collected, right? So definitely those kind of data, say for example, crop health information of Nigeria, and then probably focusing on one very important cash crop. And you probably don't, these government or whoever is managing that data set will not just want any person or people to lay their hands on those kind of information. So as to manage this system. So implementing blockchain technology can help to ensure that those kind of data sets are secure, and then ensuring that transparency occurs and it's traceable in the agricultural supply chain, and also facilitating secure transaction and data sharing among stakeholders. So there'll probably be limited or no issue about breach of trust, because you know that it's only people who are given access into that kind of system that can utilize those information or make decisions with it. And look, also we have advanced sensing technology, which is deployment of IoT devices for real-time monitoring, and then also the integration of hyperspectral imaging for detailed crop analysis. So hyperspectral images are not things that have been existing over time compared to multispectral imagery. So they are kind of a new things or emerging technologies that is being applied to agriculture recently. And as it is still very expensive, but as technology gets to advance and there's more development, most likely the cost might reduce to some extent, and then acceptability will also be improved, because you might not be able to accept what you can afford. And then also Internet of Things, which talked about integrating sensors, data with geospatial information for real-time monitoring, and then creating a network of interconnected devices to optimize farm management. So to conclude, we can all agree or would say geospatial analysis and technology drive a paradigm shift in agriculture and empowering farmers and stakeholders, which also include policymakers and top government decision makers, with unprecedented insight and tools for sustainable and efficient practice. As the field continues to evolve, integrating emerging technology promises even greater advancement, ensuring a resilient and productive future for the agricultural sector. Geospatial analysis and technology have become indispensable tool in modern agriculture. As we all know, virtually GIS or geospatial technology is applicable to all sectors. Let me put it that way. All sectors: logistics, transportation, agriculture, health, name it, construction, urban planning. There will always be the use of geospatial technology one way or the other. So this has become indispensable tool in modern agriculture, thereby fostering sustainable practice and increasing productivity. As technology advances, the agricultural sector benefits from innovative solutions that also address the challenges of feeding a growing global population while ensuring environmental stewardship. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, maybe we have questions from the audience. Femi, anyone? Hi, Joseph.
Okay. Uh, I don't think we have question from the audience yet. I can't find. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me, Joseph?
Okay, okay. There is no question from the audience yet. I think I only have some compliments here. Basically, just a chit chat section. Well, it's a very profound and insightful teaching you did here, and I also learned a lot from the technologies you made mention of. Actually, to ask participants, okay? This from Mr. Depoji is only giving a compliment. Uh, okay.
Maybe while we are still waiting for comments or additional questions, I just want to share another experience how we've applied geospatial technology. So
Okay,
currently,
you can go ahead.
yeah, so currently there's a project we are working on in Tanzania, but around cassava. There are different, we've been able to map the different varieties of cassava that is being produced in the country. And that, with that kind of mapping, we can see the locations or the spread of those varieties across the country. And definitely some of those varieties are more, they get more yield than the other. And in this kind of case, looking at infusing logistics in terms of demand, where is this cassava being produced and where is the demand happening? Look at population data sets, and with that, it's easier for you to map out. You already know where the cassava production takes place, and with that, where you've also figured or be able to identify locations where demand is needed. It's just for you to then channel, okay, which is the best route in terms of distribution or network or transportation routes to use to get demand, to get supply rather to where they are being demanded as against just putting them out in the markets where actually are not demanded for. So, well, we will still wait and see for a few more minutes if there are other, if there is going to be any question or comment from the audience as well.
No questions for now. No questions for now. Just trying to see. All right, we have a question here, please. Let me see this. Alright, we have a question here.
Okay. The question says, what software application or process can be used for crop yield prediction? There are a lot of, okay, basically, geospatial software that most people use or that is being used is it's either you use the ArcGIS, either ArcGIS Pro, which is more like what X-ray is pivoting towards, because the next couple of months they are facing out ArcGIS desktop entirely, so everything is online using the ArcGIS set. Or use the open source QGIS, right? And then you get your satellite imagery, because before you can make or carry out crop yield prediction, you need to know the historical data of that particular area. So you can use from different satellite sources. You definitely have access into archive imagery over time. It depends on how robust you want that output to come. You can download images over time at interval, probably 2 years, 5 years, depends. Carve out the area of interest and then firstly start with the normalized differential vegetation index to see what plant health have looked like in that area for that period or over that period, and then merge those together or look at then implementing machine learning to carry out a model to say, okay, yes, if this is what it has been over time, and currently you can actually get a very recent data as well. If it's merged up to what still exists, you can as well use that to make a prediction that, okay, this is what the historical data looks like, this is what currently exists. And from your analysis, it shows that there have probably been little or no alteration in the output. You can use that to say, okay, yes, make a projection or prediction for what that yield will look like in the nearest future.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me check if we have any other questions here. Okay. Just saying it's amazing to be here from Paul James. Right, thank you. Mm, let's see. Mm, okay. Um, we don't have questions from the participants here because I can't see any other question here particularly. So all right. So gradually, I think we are coming to a close. Okay. So before you go, or before we close this session, do you have any parting words you want to give to our participants? People, I mean, imagine people just getting into the space of precision agriculture, just to share your parting word with them.
Okay, what I would say basically is GIS is a trend that needs to be followed, right? And like, if agriculture is your niche, you can just carve it from there. But what you just need to do is focus more on the practicability and how the various spatial analysis that are existing out there can be applied to agriculture. Even within the agricultural sectors, different subsectors, is it you want to focus on precision agriculture, livestock management, water resource management, or even if it is just crop yield, all you just need to do is stay focused, be intentional about it. Very, very, very important. You have to be intentional and don't rely solely on your existing knowledge. Seek more knowledge. There are a lot of open outsource. There are a lot of open resource learning platforms. YouTube is a place to start with, and a lot of other things.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Saheed. Uh, it's a very insightful teaching and very amazing time learning with you, sir. So we want to say a very big thank you. And yeah, so some of our participants have given their commendation just from sir. We said, well done, sir, what a great lecture. Uh, so basically, this is what we have for today. But you really did well and did a very great justice to the topic. Thank you very much, sir. So
Yeah, thank you very much as well. I
yes, yes.
appreciate this
All
session
right,
and
sir.
this opportunity
So
to
thank
share the
you.
little knowledge I have or I know about GIS, the social technology, and how
Come again, sir.
I said I appreciate this moment and time given to me to share from my little knowledge and about geospatial technology and how it is applicable or practicable within the agricultural sector. It's a pleasure being
All
here.
right, all right, okay. Thank you very much, sir. We should be the one appreciating you more. All right, thank you very much. I think we've come to the end of the webinar, so we can make some
All right,
end.
then. Do enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay, sir.
Bye.
All right. All right, everyone. So we've rather come to the end of the teaching of this webinar. So we'll continue tomorrow. We'll be bringing on board Mr. Mark Mani and Mr. Ridwan Shurunke, and they will be having another insightful edition of this webinar with us. So the information is going to be communicated to you on the group. So you have the flight information and the links to actually join the webinar. All right, thank you, everyone.